You're probably wasting hours every week scheduling Pinterest pins, and you don't even realize it. Let me show you how to cut that time by 80% just by switching one tool.
I've been growing Pinterest accounts for about 12 years now, and if there's one thing that people need to understand, it's that Pinterest needs a lot of data and consistency to work. Here is a case in point. This is a brand new Pinterest account I started from scratch about 3 months ago for a client, and it is currently doing 12,000 clicks, outbound clicks per month. This didn't happen because of a viral pin or ads, but because of large volume of well-optimized content that was pushed to the account. And here's the same account just showing you that there were no ads run on this account, and the growth is completely organic. If you would like to see which website and account it is, I will show you everything about this specific account in the case study I released a couple of weeks ago, which I will link below the video. In the case study, I also reveal a major shift I made in my workflow, which I wanted to show you in this video. So what did I change and why? I changed my scheduling tool, and I'm in the process of moving all of my Pinterest management clients away from Tailwind and into the new tool. I found scheduling with Tailwind incredibly time consuming, and if you handle a large volume of pins or just want to work faster, it's just not the way to go anymore. And that brings me to the point. Here we have the two tools and how they compare. So I'm currently using Metricool. The main benefit of Metricool is the price and the speed with which I can schedule content. So instead of uploading all of my images and creatives manually to Tailwind and filling in all the fields, I just take a simple spreadsheet where I add all the data, click upload, and it's done. It literally takes seconds. Metricool also makes sense financially as you get a lot more value for your money. For the premium plan, you basically pay $24.99 at Tailwind. But with Metricool, you get 6 times as much content allowance and you get 5 times as many Pinterest accounts. So that makes a lot of sense financially as well. Here is another thing you should also not forget, that time also costs money. If you don't mind using Tailwind and continue wasting a lot of time on the platform, waiting for it to load and uploading your creatives manually and all of that, that's perfectly fine. But you should at least be aware that you are leaving a lot of money on the table. This is what Metricool looks like once you got everything set up. For each plan they have allowance for a specific number of brands. So the basic plan for $22 per month is for 5 brands. So you can have 5 different websites connected. And for each one, you can connect all of these other social accounts. So it's not just for Pinterest, but you can manage the whole social presence for your whole website and brand. So in here, I connected only Pinterest. To connect it, you simply click on Pinterest and it will ask you to give permission to your account. And you click basically confirm, and that's it. It will automatically do that for you. You don't have to do any complicated setup. Once you connect it, it will also pull data from your Pinterest analytics, which looks like this. So it's much nicer to review and to analyze. I like the colors, and you can also click on these different tabs to view different data points. So it's really useful, and you have also your pins down here. So this is the analytics tab. Then you have your planning tab, which is where you do your scheduling. You can view it either as a calendar, or you can also view it as a list. And then you have a tab where you can also keep your deleted posts. So this list view is incredibly useful. For example, if you are looking for a specific article and you want to know when is the last pin published for that specific article, you can type it in here and it will show you all the pins that match that keyword, and you can quickly check when is the last pin published date, so you can, make more pins for that specific one, for example. In the calendar view, it's also useful to see how many pins you have going out every day. So I can see there's only 3 in here. There's one more hidden in here. You can unpack it to see more of them like that. So this is really useful. I like to view it as a calendar. Another way you can look at it is using these filters in here. So you click on filters. If you want to see any posts that were stuck in a draft, if you get some errors, Metricool will leave the post in a draft and it will ask you to kind of publish it, or it will also show you specific errors that you need to fix. So if we want to see anything with errors, we are just going to apply a quick filter. It's not showing us anything here, so that's perfectly fine, but that's a really fast way to find any posts that you have with errors or being prevented from publishing in here. So let's get it back. Now, let me show you how to schedule content with Metricool. I mentioned that it's very simple using a CSV template, but it cannot be any kind of CSV template. It needs to be the one that they provide on a platform. So to schedule, we are going to go to the planning tab. Under calendar, you will find 3 dots next to the filter icon. And in there is a button to import CSV. In here, under the download template, when you click on that, it will download a CSV file, which is the original template that Metricool provides, and it looks like this. As you can see, it's not very easy to use. There's a lot of different columns because essentially what they do is they put a column for each of the potential social profiles that you can have connected. And for each one, they have the different separate fields to fill in for each of the profiles. So you end up with a very confusing and very big spreadsheet. What I've done instead is take all that data and put it into this template that's much easier to use and easier to see stuff. A word of warning, please do not touch the row 1, which is the original column names or headlines that are from the original spreadsheet. So this is how they understand and pick up the data points from your spreadsheet. These need to stay in the same format as they are, so don't change this. Also, the other point is this date and time format needs to stay exactly as it is. So don't start overriding it with some other format or changing the date format. It needs to be the same way as it is in the template. You will see that this is much shorter, or there's a lot less fields in this template, and that's because all the extra stuff that we are not using is hidden. So if I expand it, it would look something like this. Another important point is for every row that you're adding to the spreadsheet, which is containing your data for your Pinterest post, you need to make sure each row has these bits filled in, because otherwise Pinterest will not understand for which social account you're adding the data for. As you can see, Pinterest has true added in here and everything else is false. So here we are telling Metricool that we only want this data to be added to Pinterest. I have pre-filled all of these fields for the first 30 rows, but if you are doing more than 30 pins using this spreadsheet, make sure that you copy this to each other row that you will be adding that. So make sure that it's filled in for everything that you're adding to the spreadsheet. So this is how it's currently set up. To explain date and time, that's pretty simple. Picture URL, this is where we will add URL links to our images, which will be uploaded to Google Drive, and it will be an individual image URL per line. In here, you will add your Pinterest board name, Pinterest pin title, that's quite easy to understand. Text means Pinterest description. So that might be the only one that you might not always remember, but we have pin title right next to it. So the next one is pin description that goes next to it. And finally, Pinterest pin link. Also, I wanted to explain how I set up these dates and times. So let me just delete this. Right. The first date in here, when you double click on it, it will turn into a calendar, right? So you can pick the first publishing date for your first pin. Let's say it would be 9th of November. In here, there's a formula which adds 3 days to the date from the original row in here. And if I would drag it down, it will add 3 days after that. So here we are keeping 3-day interval between each pin. And it's super easy to use because you don't have to fill in these dates manually. It will automatically add the interval for you. As you can see, it says 3 days at the bottom. Then you have the same template with a 5-day interval, 7-day interval, 10 and 14. If you would like to change the interval yourself, you can double click in a third row in here. And in here, you can see that it says 3. So that's the 3-day gap or 3-day interval. If you would type in 5, it would add 5 days from the original date. For the times, I have extracted the best publishing time from my old Tailwind account. So I just simply took a screenshot of the publishing schedule with the times, and I asked ChatGPT to extract the time slots based on this exact format. and then I simply added them in here. Yeah, so that was pretty easy. Next up, we have picture URL. As I mentioned, we need to upload all of our pins to a Google Drive. You can just set up a separate Google Drive for Metricool Publishing because you will fill up the free storage quite fast. So that's what I tend to do. So simply upload it to a dedicated folder. I like to name them with the main keyword, and also sometimes I add a number just so I can find them faster. Once you have everything uploaded, you need to share this. So we are going to click share. We want to share with everyone. Done. And now it will add a little icon to each of these files to basically tell us that this file is shared with everyone. Right, now we're going to click on this, Control A or Command A if you're on Mac, and then copy. Now, if we would paste it directly into this field in here, it would just get all messed up, and we can't paste it right away. We need to make sure that the URLs we just copied from the Google Drive are separated, each one on individual line. So I'm going to do that in ChatGPT into individual lines, no bullet points. There's also external websites where you can simply paste this and it will do it for you, but I find it faster to just use ChatGPT because I have it open anyway all day. So there will be quite a few. I think there's like 40 pins we have in this article, but it's quite fast. Right, so we have this, we can copy it from here. And then I'm going to go to the second row in here and click add. And now we have all the URLs in here. I'm just going to tidy it up a little bit. Right. Now we have our picture URL ready. So we just need to fill in the Pinterest board title, text, and add our article. The article is pretty easy. You just add your article URL to the first one, and we are going to drag it all the way until the last image link in here. So row 46. And we can tidy it up again. Right. Next up, we are going to generate pin title and pin description, and we are going to do that in GPT as well because we want to get this done fast. So let me show you how to do that. Creating pin titles and descriptions for scratch, especially if you're doing 30 to 50 pins per article, can be very time consuming. So I recommend using my free tool called Pin SEO Boost. It's available on ChatGPT. You don't need the paid plan to access it and to use it. I will leave a link below the video. In here, it will ask you how many pin titles and descriptions you want. What is your main keyword, additional keywords, and it will also ask for a URL of the article, which I have provided in the instructions. You can ask for some tweaks. For example, if you want the descriptions to be a bit longer or use specific format for the headlines, you can add more tweaks to the output. But generally, you will get something that looks like this. So there's two columns. The first one is a headline. Second one is description. And it will do the exact number of titles and descriptions that you need. I have actually changed the Metricool template to make adding headlines and descriptions easier. So originally, the text column is actually the first one before the date. But I moved it next to pin title so that when we copy over the titles and descriptions from GPT, we don't have to kind of shuffle it around and we can just move it there with a single click. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to start with highlighting the first one and drag it all the way down. And then simply copy, go to my first pin title, and when you click Control V or Command V, it will automatically fill in all these fields. So there was pin titles and descriptions done for 45 pins in a few seconds. Here is an extra one we are going to delete. So right now we have almost everything filled in. The last piece of the puzzle is Pinterest boards. I recommend creating a list of your boards from Pinterest and keeping it as a tab in your scheduling sheet as I have in here. It's a good idea to group them by a theme so that when you're looking for relevant boards for your specific article, you can find them faster. In my case, the topic was digital marketing strategy. So I'm going to use the three from here. I'm just going to paste them as they are. Then let's have a look at some generic generic boards from here. And a few more from here. And I'm quite happy with this selection. And what we want to do then is just basically use the same boards for the rest of the content as well. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it to the rest. There's one more, so I'm going to do this one. Okay, right. We are still missing dates in here. So I will just drag this field, which has the 3-day gap applied. And it goes up to April 2026 is the last published date for this specific article. You will notice at the beginning I said that the fields that are hidden are already filled in for the first 30 rows. And from the row 31, they do not have the data. So I would make sure that to copy all the data up to the row of 46 where we have content. But I will make some final tweaks to this template before I share it with you under the video. And I will give you options where the field is already completed and filled in for the first 50, for the first 50 pins, for the first 30 pins, so that you can use a template, which is much easier, and you don't have to manually copy over the hidden fields to make sure that the template is published correctly. Once you have the spreadsheet completed for your article, all the fields are filled in. You double check that the date and time format are correct and that you fill them in for all of your pins. So up to row 46 in our case. We are ready to download this and schedule it with Metricool. Go to File, Download, and a CSV file and save it in your computer. I've done this already. Then we can go back to Metricool. We are here in the window, which we found just to show you. So under the calendar view, the 3 dots in here, we have Import CSV. We're going to click on this paperclip and find the file that we just saved. And it will start reading the file. And this is a good sign. We have 45 pins and it found 45 pins. So we correctly filled in the spreadsheet. So let's wait for it to read that. Now it will open this window where it will highlight any potential issues that you might have. Some URLs could not be identified and their preview will not be available. This is fine. I get this error almost all the time. It doesn't mean that nothing will be published. They just can't show you preview. So this is like your last preview window before everything will be scheduled, but we are quite happy with that. So let's just click import. And now it will be importing all of the 45 posts, and it literally takes seconds. It took a halfway break. And we're almost there. And now the import is finished. So we click accept. Now it will reload the calendar, so it will add the posts we just added in there. To see them, we can search for, I think it was free cheat sheet. Yeah, and now you can see the posts are scheduled in here with the pins that we created for them and with the content that we added as well. So here's a URL, that's our board, our title, and our description is in here. So that was super easy and super fast. It didn't take very long. And if you're using my tool for creating the pin titles and descriptions, it saves you so much time, having to do this manually and figuring out what to put there and how to make them unique as well. So it's a super useful spreadsheet. I will try to make further improvements on this spreadsheet before I drop it below the video so you can use it much faster. As I mentioned, it's super important not to mess up with the spreadsheet and not to start adding any extra columns in here or changing the names of the first row. Just leave it as it is. If you encounter any issues with Metricool, for example, if you're uploading this spreadsheet and there's supposed to be only 45 pins and it's showing you in the preview that it's reading about 900 pins, all that means is that under these hidden fields in here in this section, that means that you left the text in there that says yes for Pinterest and no for the other social scheduling tools or accounts. So you need to double check these hidden fields to make sure that everything after row 46 is clean. So there shouldn't be any content in here in these hidden rows because we are only adding content for the first 46. So you can simply highlight them and click delete in here, and then everything that's kind of hidden and has text in it would be removed. But as I said, I will try to make this a bit more user-friendly. I will create different tabs for this where you will have the first 50 pins filled in and everything else will be blank, so it's faster for you to use it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and it will save you as much time as it does for me using Metricool. Of course, no tool is perfect. So for example, me personally, I wish that Metricool had communities like Tailwind does. In Tailwind communities, you can basically add your pin to also be shared in these communities, which act like boards. So you will get some extra saves and clicks from these groups as well. But for me and most of my client accounts, I didn't see enough traffic and traction from these communities that would justify keeping Tailwind and paying the premium price for a platform. So that's something you should consider as well. If you get a lot of traction from Tailwind communities, you should be able to see that in your breakdown in Google Analytics. And that's something that you need to consider before or whether you want to switch to Metricool or not. I mentioned my case study. It is currently available at a launch price, and in the lesson 4, I guide you through a complete process of researching keywords, adding them to the tool, and also scheduling them with Metricool. This is a brand new account that was created for a website that was flagged as spam for Pinterest, so we kind of started from scratch, and we were able to grow the account really fast by 400% in just a matter of weeks. So if you're interested checking it out, I will link it below the video. Thank you so much for watching and keep an eye for new videos coming up this week.